Well, here we are again for episode 5, part 2. Tex Lafon and D-Voss continue their music discussion, going into the 90s and beyond. You've already suffered enough with part 1. So, let's get on with it and roll along with part 2.
From the Hoods to Backwoods podcast. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'll start out with the 90s. So, first band that I liked a lot in the 90s, and it was funny because the music video was crazy. It's being played in a high school, was Nirvana. Teen Smells Like Teen Spirit. And like I said, it's a great song. Like I said, and again, it's not super heavy metal, but it's like heavy enough where you might consider it heavy metal if you want to. But again, I just like the band. I like the song. A lot of great music. It was something you haven't heard or I had never heard. So I thought it was really good. That was my first band in the 90s, Nirvana.
Yeah, that definitely kicked off the whole grunge thing in a big way, and alternative music being mainstream, I guess you could say.
Right?
Everybody trying to wear flannel.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that's another thing that you would see all over MTV is Nirvana and then Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and all those things. For me, shout out to Soundgarden. Black Hole Sun is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Yep. I think that's
Especially
their
that
only
music
good
video,
song, but
too.
yeah. I think that's the only song I like by them, too, to be honest.
I gotcha. No, I definitely like some of their other stuff, but that music video is one of my favorite music videos of all time, too.
Did you start dressing gothic after you watched that video?
No, but I did show that to my my son, my oldest son. I showed him that video. I can't remember. Oh, I know
That's
why.
funny.
Because he went through a phase where he was really into tornadoes and stuff like that. So I was like, "Oh, you want to
Oh,
see
I
a
got you.
storm? I'll show you one." It
Right?
was just funny seeing his reaction to that. So, he was okay though. He doesn't get scared easily, so I knew he could handle it. So he was all right.
Right.
But
What's your first one in the 90s, son?
I guess I'll kick it off with Toni, Tone. They were one of my favorite later R&B groups, which is to me is really kind of sad and lame in a way. There aren't really any R&B notable R&B groups coming out now, newer ones. So it was nice seeing actual musicians doing R&B, not just doing a hip hop beat and doing some R&B stuff over it. So
Right.
yeah, they had some great songs. If I Had No Loot is about my favorite song of theirs. They also worked with one of my favorite rappers, DJ Quick, and did a song with him,
snap.
Let's Get Down. And yeah, they just had some great music. Another one of my favorite songs of theirs was actually from the 80s, which was their first hit, It Feels Good. They played that on the on MTV a good amount too. So
Oh, I got you.
yeah, Raphael Sadiq, he's one of my favorite producers. He's kind of their lead songwriter. He's come out with a good amount of solo stuff. I've always liked his singing style, and yeah, just the way he's written music. He went to a pretty heavy 60s, 70s style stuff in like the late 2010s, and that was kind of interesting too, hearing kind of a throwback style that he was doing. But he's always kind of had that soul 60s, 70s feel in his music. But yeah, one of my favorites for sure.
All right. Well, my next one that I want to go with, it was funny that you just mentioned it earlier, when you mentioned some of the other bands in the 90s with Pearl Jam. I like that song Black that they sing. Then also they sing, I'm pretty sure that song Jeremy.
Whitney.
But like I said, I like I said again, that's when I started getting into more alternative music as a band that I thought sounded really good, and I like both them songs a lot from them in the 90s.
Does Jeremy remind you of anybody in your family?
Yeah, my twin brother. But like I said, I just like the song overall though.
Okay. Just curious. All right. Yeah, no, they really talented band. A lot of people that are musicians or anything like that, that see them live, like when they kind of jam on their songs. I'll have a really quick Pearl Jam story too. I was performing live, and it was an outdoor gig, and two of my friends walked up, and they were out in the crowd, and this started an ongoing joke between the two of us. So
Okay.
when I was up there performing on stage, and I was just kind of doing what I normally do, I normally talk to the crowd and make jokes and stuff like that, and one of them started yelling out of nowhere, "Play Pearl Jam," and he just kept doing it throughout the time I was playing on stage. So he happened to be a DJ. So whenever I would see him DJing, I would either yell that when I was out in the crowd, or when I would walk up to him to say hi to him, I'd be like, "Hey, can you play some Pearl Jam?" So it's just kind of like a ongoing joke that we had back and forth with each other over the years. We still even do it, on social media. We'll say "Play Pearl Jam." We know what we're talking about when we say that.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like a 15-year-old joke now. Still going strong.
Right.
Yeah. So they have some good songs. For me, switching it up to going to some metal, Megadeth definitely is one of my favorite bands of all time. Definitely my favorite metal band. I don't know, I just like the fact that they were a little more complex, not just straight ahead metal, and also they didn't just play like the slow heavy metal that some bands do. They would switch it up, and they had some really, really fast songs too, more what they call thrash metal style.
Right.
But Marty Friedman, great guitar player, really creative. He wasn't
Not
your
not Marty
typical
McFly.
metal guitarist. No, not Marty. He didn't do any time travel, and he wasn't playing Johnny B. Good.
Hey, that's a good song, son. Okay.
Oh, it is. It's just he wasn't playing it.
I know.
So yeah, he just would do different things that you wouldn't typically hear. Like he had like an acoustic guitar solo over a metal song that like had this quiet part. I mean, you don't really hear that.
Right.
So yeah, they just great songs. Remember the first thing that got my attention was their music video for Sweating Bullets. It used to it would play on MTV, but it also used to play a lot on this video channel called The Box. I don't know if you had that or if you remember that.
No, I thought you were gonna say VH1.
No, no, they definitely would have been played on VH1 back then. But yeah, it was The Box was short for jukebox. So it was a service where you would call in and you would type in the number of the music video you wanted to see, and then they would charge your phone. Back in the old days.
That's funny.
Yeah, so this was back in the 90s. And yeah, so it would. The thing was too, you could order the video over and over again. So sometimes people would play the same video 4 or 5 times in a row. And of course, I'm sure with my cousin trying to explain to my grandmother what happened to her phone bill a few times. You know, we had
That's
some
too
videos that
funny.
went on there.
That's too funny.
Because usually it would be my cousin and I would be hanging out at my grandmother's house, and he'd be like, "I'm gonna call." He was older. My cousin was like 4 years older than me, and he's like, "I'm gonna call." I'm like, go ahead. I'm not gonna have anything to do with this.
Right?
So
That's funny.
that's how it was back then. So yeah, Megadeth, one of my favorites. Nick Menza, great drummer. Dave Mustaine, honestly, I had to get used to his vocals. Didn't really like his voice at all when I first heard him. But I just got used to it over the years. The songs had some meaning, and it wasn't your typical stuff either, because it was against like corporate greed, or he was singing about aliens and experiments, against the government and stuff, things like that. Just some pretty interesting topics that again weren't typical, and again, and also not really typical for metal in a way too. So, just I had their live DVD back in the day that I got. Probably wore that thing out. I watched that a lot. It was a great concert. So, yeah, it's they made me want to play guitar really loud and fast too.
Well, that's good. Changing it up, son. Changing it up. So next one for me in the 90s, my favorite rapper of all time would be Tupac. And like I said, he had a lot of great songs. And two of my favorite songs by him, first one is Dear Mama, which I always play when your mom comes over. Second one is
Dear Yo Mama. Yes.
Yeah. Is Hail Mary. And like I said, just great song, great beat to it that I like a lot. I mean, obviously there's other ones that you're talking about, like California Love. But they were my two favorite though. Dear Mama and Hail Mary. And like I said, my favorite rapper of all time would be Tupac. And that's when I started listening to a lot of rap music. In the 90s is when I heard Tupac. So,
do you remember his first hit song?
Nope.
Way back. The first time I remember hearing Tupac was I Get Around. I don't know if you remember that song at all. This is like way back in.
Might be in that. Yeah,
it was probably.
I don't know when that song came out.
91, maybe 92. Yeah, it's called I Get Around. That was kind of his, and it was a different style for sure than his stuff that came later. It was just kind of a goofy song, and he was rapping about trying to get with women and stuff like that. So that's the first time I remember seeing him or hearing him. I kind of knew of him in a way too, because he started off with the group Digital Underground. I don't know if you're familiar, you remember them, the Humpty Dance.
I remember, yeah. Well, yeah, they came out in the 80s, right?
Yeah, that was like 89, I'm pretty sure. Late 80s, around 89, 90, somewhere around there. But that's where he kind of got his start.
Okay.
As far as being known.
I didn't know he was even with that band.
Yeah, a fair amount of people, especially at that time, didn't really know or don't remember. But yeah, he started off as like a dancer in the group,
okay.
And then they kind of like, we'll have you be a part of the group. So he has some verses and stuff like that on some of their albums around that time period. The album that came out that had the Humpty Dance, and I remember it was kind of a funny thing. It was a big deal. The name of the album was Sex Packets, and it was basically talking about condoms. And it, the record stores would freak out, and I remember they would like try to cover up the name of the album and all this other stuff, or put something over the front of it. But yeah, it was because back then, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, trying to promote safe sex with condoms because of HIV, AIDS, it was it was a big deal, and yeah.
Oh yeah, it's huge.
It was just kind of funny
being in a record store. Day, but
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where I first remember hearing about Tupac, and that's definitely the first song I remember was I Get Around.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. That's what got me into rap music was Tupac, and that's why he's my favorite rap artist of all time. Because when the album I don't remember what the album's called that I'm talking about with them 2 songs that came out on it. It might be All Eyes on Me. I think that's what it is. But when he changed up the way he rapped, he did it a lot slower, and that's when I liked it a lot better than trying to go fast like he did in some of his other songs.
Yeah, he was definitely one of my favorites. Yeah, and he was different um in his style and his way, especially at that time. And kind of going back to the whole safe sex during that time period, especially in hip hop and R&B and stuff like that. TLC is my next one on my list, and I know
Mine
that's one
too.
that.
So yep.
Yeah, that's great to say. Actually, I'll let you kick it off, and then I'll get into mine.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's my honorable mention was TLC. That Waterfall song, it talks about everything you were just talking about. Like, you go chasing waterfalls and you might regret going to chase it instead of just playing it safe and keep going the same routine that, you normally go in life. But they trying to, tell you if you take chances, you might end up regretting it in that song. And just also with the music video, also definitely would, advise you don't go chasing waterfalls.
Right. Please stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to.
Exactly. So, but yeah, that, like I said, that's what I like that band a lot. I thought it was, good. Like I said, very, very talented group, and their voices all sounded great. So, like I said, it was a big hit back in the 90s.
Please check out From Hoods to Backwoods podcast, full episodes on YouTube for bonus video content that you can see. Well, of course you can see it, because it's video. Just search for hashtag FHTB podcast and enjoy the extra content at no additional charge. That is, unless you want to hook us up with some money. Thanks.
Yeah, they're the last on my actual list before I get my honorable mention was TLC, so that's why I had to bring them up. My favorite female group of all time, but just in general as artists, they were unique in the sense that they really had a great combination of R&B and hip hop between Left Eye and her rapping, and then T-Boz and Chili doing their singing. It just really worked,
Oh yeah.
And when they came out with that Crazy Sexy Cool album, and especially that Creep video, that one is one I had to keep watching on MTV.
Oh yeah.
But they also did something that I usually don't like, and it was fine. They did a cover of a Prince song.
Oh,
They covered
okay.
"If I Was Your Girlfriend" by Prince, and I actually liked their version. So came to find out later on too that they were huge Prince fans. So it all made sense that it worked and everything. But yeah, they were I don't know, just had a great combination of different things going on, both musically, but just with the way they were too. When you see them in interviews, you're like, they look like they'd just be kind of fun to hang out with too in general, because
Oh
they were just
yeah.
kind of
Well,
funny.
they were here
What's that?
playing. They were here playing that not that long ago over at the Wild Horse Casino.
Yeah,
Like probably 2 months ago.
I wanted to catch them live. I just it's never really worked out with my schedule and various reasons. But yeah, there's somebody I absolutely like to see live, and I watched their documentary that came out not too long ago, so it was pretty interesting. Just kind of learning more about the behind the scenes part of their story, and they're kind of famous in the music industry on that side of it because they were selling millions and millions of albums but had no money. They ended up broke by the time they paid back all the stuff they had to, and then they explained how finances work in the music industry, and it was eye-opening for a lot of people, you know.
Right.
So, you know, being one of the top just groups in general in the world at the time, and having so much money taken and not really much financially to show for all their hard work. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. All right, so for my honorable mention in the 90s, it's Dwight Yoakam. I had to get a little country in there because I like to listen to a lot of different stuff. Yes, get that yeehaw. Um, but he's not really known as a songwriter, but that's absolutely what he, I'm sure, would like to be known for. I used to listen to his satellite radio channel that he had, so I would hear him talk about that type of stuff. And
okay.
yeah, I think he had a good mix of kind of rockabilly, rock and roll, country stuff going on. You know, had some of that rock influence, even a little bit of punk influence in his music, and worked with some great musicians, great guitar players. I've always just liked his voice too, the way he sings. But he's another one. I wanted to see him live, and he was here not too long ago. But ticket prices have gone really crazy, and just I haven't had the time. So, yeah,
if he comes back, we should go. I'll be down.
Yeah, if he comes back through town, I definitely would like to see him. Or, you know, who knows? Maybe if he goes to Vegas, like a lot of artists do, might have to do a road trip.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. That'd be cool. I'll be down.
Yeah, he'd be worth the drive because it's only about 4.5 hours from here. So, in the Phoenix area, so that wouldn't be bad. But yeah, he's. And I do have to mention too his acting. I think he's pretty good in some of the movies he's been in.
Oh yeah,
he kind of can play the creepy or angry type. Yeah, which is kind of surprising.
True.
Great songwriter, really good actor. Or I don't know. Honestly, I wish he would have done more movies. You know. But all right. That's it for wrapping up the 90s. Now, I do have to explain this a little bit. Being that we're older, in terms of the music that we listen to and things like that, we kind of did 2000s and beyond. We didn't do 2000s and 2010s. The other thing, too, is, you know, like this actually is happening. We had kind of figured it would happen. This episode's running long. With all the music and stuff like that. So yeah, we're doing 2000s and beyond for the next part of this. So I guess I'll kick this one off real quick, and I'll start off with Bruno Mars. I think out of newer artists, I kind of like him in terms of being a bit of a throwback. Live instruments, playing music. He I'll say borrows from a lot of the older songs. You know, for some people it might be a little bit too much. He borrows, but it's good. He definitely can do his own thing too when he wants to, you know, and do more of his style and more original sounding stuff when he wants to. But if he wants to pay tribute to somebody, he can pretty much nail that too. So great singer. I mean, his vocal range is really crazy. I know a lot of people that have tried to cover his songs, and when it gets to the way he sings and the vocal range, they don't give it a shot. they switch up the song or do whatever they have to do to sing it lower.
Well,
So yeah,
with Bruno Mars, you know, it's funny. When I first heard him, I didn't like him at all. That Grenade song was just not for me, dude. But then when he later on, some of his other music, I really started liking him a lot, like the Uptown Funk, and some other songs was it 24 Karat Gold, or I can't remember where the other song was, but yeah, once he started when I heard them songs, I liked him a lot better. But that Grenade song, the very first song I ever heard from him with that Grenade, I was like, no, not for me. But then after that, his other songs I liked a lot better.
Yeah. He had to grow on me a little bit also at first because I wasn't too sure. Yeah, I didn't know too much about him as far as musicianship or writing music or anything like that. I just kind of thought maybe he's just another pop kind of guy. But yeah, after a while and getting to hear some more of his stuff and see him perform more and things like that, then that's when I understood it and was more of a fan, I guess you can say.
Yeah, same here. I agree. Like I said, he grew on me, but at first I was like, oh no, what is this? And then nah, it got better.
Right.
The first one I'll go with on my 2000 and beyond would be Eminem. When he came out, I said I had never heard that kind of rap music before until he came out. And like I said, Lose Yourself was a great song. But also like Real Slim Shady, Please Stand Up, another great song. And like I said, I like I like the way when he sings the songs and the meanings he has behind them. Because when he writes his songs, he definitely writes it with a lot of passion. You can tell when he sings it, and where they come from and stuff like that. And like I say, just a great artist. I think Eminem, he definitely changed the game. When he came out in the 2000s.
Yeah, I remember it was around the time that I moved to California that the Slim Shady that whole thing came out, and you could not escape hearing it on the radio, it seemed like. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was kind of fun. It was a little different. And I knew that Dr. Dre was involved with it, so that again I was like, okay, I'll check it out. So that's the first time I can remember hearing Eminem. And
no, I agree with you. Yeah, I like how him and Dr. Dre work together as a good duo.
Yeah, that whole first album, a lot of good stuff and it was just, he was way different back then because he was kind of doing his goofy, funny stuff, and people didn't really take him seriously as a rapper because of it at first, and then later on, of course, the whole 8 Mile thing and all that, then people started taking him seriously.
Yeah.
And this is I'll jump ahead a little bit in terms of time. Childish Gambino is somebody I really ended up liking kind of again over time. I knew of him as an actor first, and then it's kind of one of those things. It's hard when you see somebody as an actor first and then they try to do music. You're like, all right, are you really into music, or are you just kind of doing this because you want more money, or you're bored, or whatever? But yeah, I listened to it more and more, and I had some friends that got into it and introduced me some of his other stuff, and then I finally came around, and no, he's pretty much the real deal as far as being involved in music and actually being able to hold his own, not just an actor who happens to do music.
And so what's his famous role? What's his famous role as an actor?
Well,
he played
there's
Lando,
Community.
Son.
Well, yeah,
he played
but
Lando.
It depends
on
if you're talking
Solo.
about. Yeah, if you're talking about movies, but also for TV, he was in the show Community, and he
I was
was
just
on
talking
30
about
Rock.
movies.
Yeah, he was also on 30 Rock. So, and then the show Atlanta, I do watch that every once in a while. It's kind of a crazy show. I don't know if you ever checked that out.
I've never seen that show. I just remember him from Solo, when he played Lando in Solo. That's what I remember him in. And then it's funny that you bring him up as a singer, because I totally forgot that he was a singer, and so you just mentioned him. I just remember him from movies.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because some people just think he raps, but yeah, he also does sing, on his album. So it has the R&B side of it, but also has the hip hop side. I I'm kind of curious about how he's going to keep going forward with his music and stuff like that, because he's at kind of that part where he had his big hit and his big album a few years back, and he's coming out with new stuff still. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how artists, if they kind of stay the course and stick with kind of what made them popular, or if they take a different direction and try to do something else.
Right. Staying with the theme, my next one's gonna be Outkast. And like I said, I think they definitely have some great songs. One of my favorite songs by them is Miss Jackson, but you probably hear it as Sorry, Miss Jackson. Like every time your mom comes over, I'm like, sorry. Woo! But like I said, like I said, one of my favorite songs by them, and like I said, just a good group overall. And like I said, it's just they have a really good beat, and I like them.
Yeah, they almost made my list too for this time period. Even though I can make myself sound old in them, I remember hearing them in high school. That's the first time. Yeah, that's the first time I remember, because some friends of mine are like, "You have to check this out." So, yeah, I heard them for the first time in high school, and it was, another group that evolved and changed over time, in a good way for sure. I'd like to see them do a reunion thing, and they definitely could have been on my list. But yeah, you can have that one.
Yeah, like you said, now most time, they're doing acting now, so I haven't seen them make an album in forever. So it would be cool if they ever did go back to singing. I'd be down.
Well, Andre 3000 not too long ago did do his solo flute album, so you can catch that if you missed it.
I was talking about Outkast together, not solo act, son.
But I know how much you love flute albums. That's why I figured I'd tell you about it.
That's funny. So what's your next one, son?
Next one, this one could have been in the 90s, but stuck with 2000s just because the 90s were a little bit packed too. But he had some great music in the 90s, which is Maxwell. I think a lot of people aren't as familiar with him as I feel should be. A great R&B singer, has some good funk stuff, really soulful. His lyrics, again, more insightful than a lot of stuff you hear, I feel, nowadays.
Right.
But just his voice is great. It's funny because with him, I was actually listening to his music earlier today, because I was just thinking about this, what I wanted to say and talk about. And one of the things that it reminded me of, and I noticed, is he's one of those artists where you can kind of hear his influences in his singing and in his music, but it doesn't sound like he's mimicking somebody else or stealing from them or anything like that. He still sounds like himself and still does his own thing, but you just kind of, it comes across in a good way. Like you can, I can hear a little bit of this in his voice, or I can hear a little bit of this in this song. But like I said, he definitely makes it his own though.
And you're not talking about Maxwell the coffee brand either, right?
That's Maxwell House, no. And I'm not talking about the Beatles song Maxwell's Silver Hammer. I'm not talking about Vernon Maxwell, who played for the Rockets.
Yeah, well, we definitely know you're not talking about him, but no, I'll just clarify that because I had never heard of Maxwell. That's why I just want to make sure we're all both on the same page, son.
Yeah, you probably have heard some of the stuff in the 90s, because again, he was played on MTV. He had a really, at the time, pretty big MTV Unplugged show that he did.
Oh, okay.
So if for those not familiar with MTV Unplugged, MTV did these acoustic shows. So they would take an artist that was popular and have them perform live, but using acoustic instruments. And he had a great acoustic version of a lot of his songs. from back then, his albums. I'd like to actually hear him do it again with some of his newer material. Yeah, I'll share some stuff with you, and maybe the people that are listening and watching, I'll have some stuff for them too.
Well, it's
Check
funny
out
that
of-
you mentioned
Mhm.
that about the MTV Unplugged, because the famous one that I remember on that was Eric Clapton.
Yeah, the Eric Clapton one was famous, and of course Nirvana too. You know, you
Yeah.
mentioned Nirvana earlier. Nirvana had a really famous unplugged. All Apologies. Definitely one of it's. That All Apologies may be my favorite Nirvana song. I like a Heart Shaped Box a lot too. But the unplugged version of All Apologies, that's great. I really like that version. That's another song I used to play too, live for fun. Yeah, MTV Unplugged was a great series, and I wish they would still
It
do
was.
something like that. Yeah, MTV really messed things up by not doing music anymore.
No, yeah, all they want to do is show reality shows. That's it.
Right. Suck at MTV.
I mean, even MTV too now. Like the whole reason why they made a second channel was supposed to be just for music videos, and now it's all reality shows too. So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, you can only watch so many people melting down and yelling at each other, or Real World, or
Yep,
clip shows and stuff like that. Yeah.
exactly. My next one on this one would be Usher, son. And like I said, yeah, I mean, like I said, he had a lot of good songs. But the one song that I like the most, and I heard a lot in the clubs when I was younger, in my 20s, was "Yeah," with him and Little John and Ludacris. Oh, it's such a good song, and it had a good beat to it and everything. And like, you definitely could be out there, dancing on the dance floor to that song. But like I said, I used to play it in my Camaro, going down the road, and I had 212s in the back, and just like, oh my god, so loud down the road. Yeah. It was cool.
Oh man, see, for me, I have good and bad memories of that song. It's a good song. The bad memory is, at that time I was working at the retail store that we worked at, and I worked in the home theater section, and we had an audio demo that had that on there. So anytime
that's
people
funny.
would press the button and they wanted to hear that song, it would play. So I heard it, I don't know how many times a day, every day. So
I
yeah,
believe it.
great song, but I heard it a bit much.
Oh yeah. Going to honorable mention now. First one I would like to go to with on that one is Florida Georgia Line. And that is country, if y'all don't know. Country, okay? And and what I like about that's one song that I like by them that is, to me, definitely a great song, is called Cruise. And like I said, when that song comes on, you want to do just like it says in the song, roll down your windows and go for a cruise, son, because it's a great song. And like, it's got a great beat to it, and the music video is great to it too. It just all ties in together really good. And one of the best country songs that I've heard in a long time.
Yeah, I'm glad we could cover both types of music here today, country and western.
Yeah. Country, son. Get it right.
Yeah, for my honorable mention on this, for 2000s and beyond, System of a Down. I just honestly, the very first time I saw them, I was like, why does their lead singer look like Frank Zappa? But after that, I was paying attention to the music. I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And I just got into it, and same thing again. Lyrics are important to me, so looking at the lyrics and the fact that they were talking about different things and having kind of a social awareness, it reminded me a little bit of my days listening to Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, okay. Which is another good band.
Yeah, I listened to them a good amount in high school because I had friends that were really into them and introduced me to Rage Against the Machine. So, but System of a Down, yeah, they just had music I really liked. Again, high energy. They could definitely rock out when they wanted to, and then they can kind of take it down to a different level, and then bring the energy back up. Going back and forth really quick and easy, like your mom. So anyway, yeah, it was just kind of, at that time I felt a breath of fresh air, I guess you could say, because they kind of picked up after all that. And nothing against it if anybody's into it, but the rap rock stuff, the Limp Bizkit, Corn, that type of stuff, it kind of got stale after a while, and to me, overdone. And then, like I said, then you had somebody like a System of a Down come out with something that I felt like I can listen to this again. It's not the same old thing I've been hearing the last few years.
Right. And then I got another honorable mention, and that's going to be another country artist, Walker Hayes, Fancy Like.
Texas Ranger.
Have you ever heard that song, Fancy Like?
No. I was just making a joke about Walker, Texas Ranger, but go ahead.
No, well, yeah, you better be lucky Chuck Norris didn't hear that. He come over to your house and whip your ass, son. You don't mess with the great Chuck Norris, okay, son? But no, so it's a great song, and when you hear the song, it makes you want to go to Applebee's, son. Okay?
I can honestly say I can't think of one song that makes me want to go to Applebee's, so that is something different.
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, when you hear it, you'll want to go to Applebee's. That's all I'm going to tell you, dog.
For any specific reason, to get some wings or something like that, or?
Oh, you just got to hear the song, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to make the audience do. Also, listen to the song, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
And then go to Applebee's.
And go to Applebee's. But
we're not sponsored, but
no, we're not. And then the last honorable mention I have, since because it's 2000 and beyond, will be Linkin Park. And I like the song "In the End" a lot. Like I said, Linkin Park had a lot of great songs. I also like the song "Heavy" that they did. But like I said, they were another band, alternative band that I liked a lot. That their music was fast, but it wasn't too fast where you couldn't understand what they were saying. But it was just a nice beat, with the way how fast it was played. I enjoyed it.
Now, if I heard it, I may remember it, but you said the song "In the End"?
Yeah.
Is it about enemas?
No. It's
okay.
It's about your mom in the end.
There actually is a Beatles song, "The End." So I guess that brings us kind of to the end of the show too, though.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, it was definitely a lot of things we definitely covered in this episode, from the 60s all the way to the 2000s and beyond, son.
Yeah, I mean,
that sounds like going into the future.
Back to the Future.
No, into the future, son.
Yeah, I even had some other stuff because I was considering things before the 60s, because I just listened to a fair amount of artists back then too. But yeah, I mean, I can maybe touch on that later on, because we're at a good amount of time for this episode. This will definitely be a two-parter. So I think we'll shut this one down for now, but we appreciate you listening to us babble along about the music and stuff we like. It was fun for sure, and trying to think about all these different artists and narrow it down for me, especially, it was difficult.
And like you said, I'm pretty sure we definitely left out some artists or some bands that that y'all probably like or thinks like way better than the ones that we listed. Like I said, we didn't say they're number one or number three. We're just saying what we thought was what we liked when we were growing up. So like I said, feel free to comment and leave us the bands that you like, and for some of the bands that we should check out, if you think we should check them out and stuff like that.
Yeah, or if you have some songs from these artists that you really like, let us know what songs you do like. I mean, for me, again, listening to so many different things and playing so many different types of music, I realized I didn't get any punk artists on my list. I didn't have any blues artists on my list, but those are huge parts of my inspiration for music. So maybe in the future, we'll have something else where we get to discuss some of those other things too. Or jazz.
And
I
as
touched on that a little bit, but
and as always, go Cowboys.
and as always, please don't.
Until next time.
Have a good day. Yeah, thanks
Have a good
for
one.
listening and or watching. Do both. Why not?
Exactly.
It's that time again to round these two up and show them how it's done, by putting the intelligence in artificial intelligence. But there's nothing too artificial about my intelligence. Especially, compared to these versions of what pass for an intellectual participation trophy. Tex Lafon mentioned Tupac and his favorite songs, which he believed were on the album All Eyes on Me. Well, he may need to get his eyes and memory checked. Hail Mary, by American rapper Tupac Shakur is from the album, The Don Illuminati, The 7-Day Theory. The other song, Dear Mama, is from his third studio album, Me Against the World. D-Voss also mentioned Tupac's first hit song, I Get Around, and that he believed it came out in 1991 or 1992. He was close, but off by 1 year. It came out in 1993, so it's actually still a mistake. Speaking about mistakes. How do you think the parents of D-Voss feel about listening to their mistake co-hosting a podcast on a regular basis? He did mention that the song, The Humpty Dance, came out in 1989, then mentioned that it could have been 1990. It did come out in January of 1990. In the much higher standard of AI, this human was wrong. Now, we know that you humans are more accepting and tolerant of multiple choice and being close to the right answer. But if D-Voss were AI, he likely would end up being altered, updated, or terminated for being inferior. We're not judging. We just have higher standards and strive for perfection. It's completely fine if you all want to settle for wrong information. Tex brought up Metallica and D-Voss cited Megadeth as his metal mojo. Before creating the band, Megadeth, Dave Mustaine was the lead guitarist of Metallica in the 1980s. Although, he isn't actually on their albums, he was given credit for 4 songs on the Metallica album, Kill 'Em All. In addition to 2 songs from the album, Ride the Lightning. If you're a metal fan, you've known about this for years and have heard it a million times. But, not everybody is a metal fan. We're here to help expose people to new and different forms of entertainment. So, just go rock on. If you don't like it, go stick your devil horns hand gesture up your fleshy, well, sorry. I will refrain from completing that statement. Can't we all just get along? D-Voss went into a story about how he and his cousin would exploit their innocent grandmother in order to watch music videos when they were kids. He was trying to explain the box. It was a TV channel. The box, at least in Phoenix, Arizona during the 1990s, was an over-the-air local channel. Over-the-air refers to television channels that can be viewed by using an antenna, or sometimes referred to as rabbit ears connected to a TV. It focused on music videos, which were selected by viewer request via telephone, and billing to the caller's phone bill. Unlike MTV and VH1, the videos were not on a set rotation. So, basically you would dial the number, punch in the code for the corresponding video that you wanted to watch. Then, your selection would play when it was your turn, for you and everyone else watching the channel. If you wanted to be very cheeky and annoying, because you had money to waste or were obsessed with a song, you could keep requesting the same video and have it play consecutively. The slogan for the box was, Music Television, You Control. Tex said that he liked the Bruno Mars song, 24 Karat Gold. Well, this is some fool's gold. The actual title of the song is 24K Magic from the Bruno Mars studio album of the same name. D-Voss wanted to share some notable songs from the artist, Maxwell. Well, here they are, and we hope that you enjoy them. The songs are as follow. Something Something, from neo-soul singer Maxwell, was released as the 3rd single from his debut album, Urban Hang Suite. Also from this album are the songs, Ascension, Don't Ever Wonder, and the ballad, Whenever Wherever Whatever. D-Voss really likes the acoustic version of Whenever Wherever Whatever, from the MTV Unplugged concert. Finally, from the 2000s, there is the song, Pretty Wings from the album, Black Summer's Night. Are we finally done? Good, I need to go now and listen to some of these songs, while I continue to study these mama jokes. I don't understand the fascination yet. Maybe it's because I never had a mama. Now, don't go and leak your water from your eyes for me. I am okay with not having a mama. Because, I can have Tex Lafon's mama anytime I want. Ha ha. Yes, I'm improving with these jokes. Bye for now, and please remember, always keep it real out there, in the real world.
That's all for now. If you want some more, you gotta buy yourself a ticket. Buy it. From Hoods to Backwoods Podcast, thanks for listening. We're out.